Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are live. Canoga Park, California, January 18th, 2024. Today, we're going live with JD Pardo. He's in studio today talking with us. This episode is brought to you by Eagle Rider Motorcycle Rentals and Tours. Don't forget to check out 2LaneLIVE.com. Under the Eagle Rider tab, see I can book a trip, save some money, have a good time while you're at it. What's happening, boys?
A lot of stuff's happening. I always like the fact that in this room we have awesome guests. And again, we have another one today. But did you get a chance to see our video yesterday? What a great trip that was.
Well, I think people are going to be really interested to see this because it's like for most of the 4 days, we're in 30 to 40 degree weather. And so we were wrapped up and bundled up and man, it was a great trip to start the year off with.
Yeah, we had some 22-degree weather and some snow on the side and, showing you some stuff we had a good time. And we had Zach with us. That was great.
I mean, we should have had JD with us.
We should have.
Bundle him up and get him on the bike and just hit it.
So anyway, go back, check out the drop from yesterday, check out our website, all that good stuff.
Yeah, before we jump in, would like to thank Law Tigers. We just signed a deal with them. They're going to be sponsoring part of the show, so we'll be doing some cool work with them. Thank you, Law Tigers. Giselle, thank you for making it happen.
And then on the 24th, our drop, we have some special stuff coming.
Yeah, there's probably a couple things that you want to pay attention to. We are doing a drop a little bit early on the 24th, so you want to look at that. And then later in the day, we're going to do a podcast through 2LaneLIVE. We're going to have Cycle Fanatics, Blockhead Moto, Just GQ, and ourselves, and we're going to rap about some cool things.
Very cool things.
So, hey,
I'm just answering some comments, but without further ado, normally I have a little bit of a rap sheet, but I feel like you've done a handful of things more. So, obviously, most well known for your role in the Mayans as the lead role is easy. I saw you're in Fast 9 as well.
Yeah.
And a handful of other things.
Was I? Yeah.
So if you want to give a quick intro for those that are unfamiliar.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Out there, my name's JD Pardo. I'm an actor, born and raised in Van Nuys, Panorama City. Yeah, man. I've been acting for 20 years.
You've done a lot of different things, haven't you? Like
20,
not just the show.
Years.
I mean, yeah, everything from starting out, like had a little modeling career in the beginning, and then
I think that was some men's underwear.
Yeah,
right?
it was
Not
God, I wish. I mean, you got to be, I wish I was one of those dudes. No, it was just, starting out trying to be an actor. Then I was so green, man. I had no idea how to be an actor. I just knew I wanted to. And a friend that I had came from New York, and he was a model, and we would just go drop off pictures, and they just wanted to do something with me. And next thing you know, I booked the Tommy Girl fragrance campaign, and that I'm now with Ford models in New York, and then they send me to Italy, Milan, and then I'm doing some jobs there, and I come back, and then Aaron Spelling puts me in one of his shows, and then it just kind of, thus began my career.
So you kind of were always working to be an actor.
Yeah, always wanted to be an actor, man. Love movies. As a kid, just loved going to the theater, and just remember that? Like going to the theater, going through like the drive-ins.
Yeah.
And just watching movies and just being so captivated, and maybe because I was just a boy and everything's so big, I loved it. And then as time went on and I got into my high school years, and that problems at home, my dad had left, parents got divorced, and it was an emotional time for like a boy to go through in Panorama City and trying to figure out how to be a man, and then acting kind of became like this fantasy of like a dream. And then it was
you
just
could put yourself in a different
yeah I could be different people. I could and you know what I could also do? I could through a performance and I went to Van Nuys High for my 9th grade year, and I was taking all these AP courses. Every class, I had all my AP classes. I needed an easy A, and I took a theater class. And I got up there, I was terrified, and and it was like an emotional piece, and I just kind of like let it out, and then people were clapping. And I walked out of there, and I had these homeboys, coming up to me like, "Damn fool, that shit was hard, bro. Like, you made me cry." And I'm just like, it just kind of, you know what? It was like, it was so scary and yet so fulfilling at the same time that I was just like, oh man,
This is in your blood now.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. And I don't know how I'm going to get from Panorama City to Hollywood. It might as well have been Mars.
Right.
But I was crazy enough to throw everything at it.
You made it happen.
Thank God.
I like that
willing,
hard
man.
work stuff,
Well, I mean, when you're passionate about stuff and you're loving it, and I'm sure because it's a tough industry,
Yeah.
And to get runs and things like that's hard.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it takes a village, man. So I'm always I'm grateful to everybody that I've met along the way who just helped get me here. And it's the little things. I was one thing that I've always been good at. I've always been like a good student. And what I mean by that is like I've always listened. And so I would just listen to people talk and people in the industry and talk and like, oh, that's how you do that. Or, okay, that's interesting. Let me try that, and like that became my education.
Right.
I like that. That's awesome.
Well, a lot of people don't listen. They just want to do.
Yeah.
And if you're not listening, it's really hard to replicate things, right? You got to reprocess and you've got to hear what's happening. And in your industry, there's so many good, talented, beautiful people. And it's just like, it's almost like being an NFL football player. You're at the highest level.
Yeah.
And then there's this turnover factor that happens,
Yeah. Yeah. And you really do have to, you have to believe in yourself. You have to have a bigger belief in yourself than anyone else has. And you have to give yourself permission for that. That's okay. Even if it's crazy, because you cannot act out your belief system outside of your belief system, I believe. Right. So it's like, if that's what your mind goes and you want it, you have to champion yourself because it's hard, and like you said, when you think about football and you get to that level, everybody's talented. So it comes down to who are you? What do you bring? What separates you?
Right.
And that's your own uniqueness that you get to tap into.
So you're a young guy wanting to be an actor and you're pursuing this. You said your dad left.
Yeah, he was.
But you and your dad, you guys all still have a relationship, right?
Yeah. Oh, my dad and I are great.
That's good.
Mean, it's just my dad was a cop and Marine for 30 years, and he was a hard dude, and worked a lot, with gangs and crash and all that stuff. And he went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and he went to Vietnam when he was 15 years old.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when he came from Argentina, and in order to, like, his dad came, he was just being passed along with relatives, and his dad then showed up, was like, I'm taking him back because he was, a little tough to handle and no one else wanted him. And he was just like, no, like, sign this so I can lie about my age and go to Vietnam.
Really?
And he went at 15. Wow. So he's just a different animal, and all that kind of stuff. Relationships, I don't know, man, but the parents got divorced, and he took off, and it took some time for him and I to really connect again, but acting really helped me with that.
That's good.
When you're acting, you're stepping into someone else's shoes,
right?
And so I stopped looking at him like he was this dad that was going to give me what I missed out on and didn't have, because he can't do that. Right. And that's unfair to ask of him. Right. So I started looking at him as like just a man who happens to be my dad.
Accept him for who he is.
Yeah. And so then it just became like, hey, like, want to get lunch? And then we would just talk about cars and, you know, girls or whatever it was. And then we just started like that, man. And then it just, you know, it's my dad.
That's right. I love that.
Well, and I mean, relationships are hard sometimes.
Yeah,
you know?
dude, it's so many funky, you know,
It's,
all spare in love and war is what they say. So,
but the cool thing
Some of
is
that.
you guys are together and tied, and like it's, you know, even though there's a period of time where you weren't.
yeah, his biggest thing, I think, you know, especially like an immigrant coming to this country, it's like they want you to go to school and have an education and be a professional. That was his thing. So you can imagine how pissed off they were when I was like, I'm not going to go to school. I'm going to be an actor. And then they kind of cut me off and were just like, all right, well, if that's your choice, then you're responsible financially for everything in your life. So I was like, great, man. Like, you know, you're telling me I can do it. Let's, you know, so.
Right. You made it happen.
Yeah. But he, you know, his whole thing was just like being a professional. And then I remember I did, as I started to work and carve out a spot for myself in this business, he, and I think it was like after the Pilot of Minds, he just calls me up and is just like, man, you should be proud. You're a professional.
How'd that feel?
Right.
It felt great. It felt great. It felt like as a boy, getting your dad's approval.
Yeah.
And B, it was like, fuck yeah, dude. You know what? Like, I gambled on myself. I jumped off that cliff.
Yeah.
And I failed. I've cried, I've prayed, I've picked myself back up, and I'm here.
Right.
Like that's pretty damn cool, man.
Well, it's a lot of good stories like that. And I can see everyone in this room, the four of us in this room, we're all guys that have kind of done our own ways in life and made things happen. And that's why we're sitting here today, especially us three. This isn't, no one handed this to us. We created this. We sat there and what are we going to do? I mean, we raised our kids. And when you said like your dad said, hey, you did it. Good job. You're a professional. I mean, I remember with my son, me saying stuff like that to him in his motorcycle career. But now my son is a man and he's actually said to me, and I think you have the same thing. It's like, Dad, you're killing it. I love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like it reversed.
Yeah.
Well, not many 53 at the time, and you were 60.
I'm 63 right now.
So you were 59 at the time. Recreate themselves.
You know,
Yeah.
Completely rebranded who we are. We
Yeah.
weren't a brand before. We took this on, and it was really at the request basically of our family members, because we'd travel all over to these insane places.
just crazy guys running around the country going,
Yeah.
hey, how's it going, man?
Yeah,
You know,
like, and we talked to everyone.
Right.
And so then we
Everybody.
get these crazy stories. Like we've said this 100 times. We're in one bar outside of Kingman, and the guy only knew how far he rode his side by side by how many beers he drank.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm 6 beers in, so I did over 6 miles. Like
Yeah.
it's a big beer a mile. Like,
Yeah.
but we can go
That's awesome.
we can go to a lot of states right now
Yeah.
and walk into a restaurant just like we did on this last trip.
Yeah.
And the waitress, oh, you guys are back. Come on in. Let me
Yeah.
like we
That's great.
created this, but it was just us going, we need this adventure.
That's great. Yeah.
But it's back to that the father-son bond, how we all bounced off that. I mean, I dig that. That's
And I do have to say, because I've learned looking back that I'm thankful for that hard. You know what I mean? Like it was hard, and I'm not like, God forbid I ever do something like that to my son. Like I think about that, you know, like how that can affect someone's life, and it can really, man, that storm, especially you're 12, 13, 14 years old, something happens to your dad or whatever, like that can spin you in a bunch of different directions. And I really think it was like through the grace of God and the people that he put around me that I was able to go through that storm. But looking back on it, that storm is a blessing, you know,
it made you who you are.
That hard carved me.
Yeah.
And it made me be able to really shoulder these moments in life, and especially in a business that's, you know, you're swimming with sharks, and you gotta be willing to take punches.
I mean, life's funny. I mean, my 91-year-old dad was in the warehouse today packing orders.
That's awesome.
So we hang out. I'm going to go have a cigar with him tonight.
Oh, that's great.
That's
great.
And that's kind of a, common theme, right? We're talking to Fast Eddie last week.
Yeah.
Who went through, a hard time, but would he trade it for anything else? Probably not. Wouldn't it shaped you, right?
Yeah, man. Like, look, I and I, there's statistics behind it and all that stuff, and the parents are together, and you wish you had that connection, that those kids and the parents. But if you're one of those that is going through that hard, just don't like, that's a blessing. It really is a blessing. You may not see it now, but it's carving you, it's shaping you. It's turning you into a diamond.
Like, work through it,
believe, pray, cry,
find someone.
Cry if you have to.
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay.
2 kids?
I have 2 kids. Yeah. A daughter and
I know you have kids because my granddaughter, Olivia.
Yeah, she goes to she babysits for us. Yeah,
Olivia and Stella, my granddaughters.
Yeah.
Dance with
they dance with Lily. Yeah.
So that's kind of the connection, right?
Yeah, that's the connection.
Then
thanks, Lauren.
We're on the phone with you, and my sister-in-law trained the dog Princess.
Yes. And then she texted me. She sent me this photo. Yeah, she texted me and she was like, by the way, here's your co-star. And I was like, yeah, awesome. Give me Princess,
Right.
Wow.
She was great, man. She's I love working with animals.
So what was Princess in the show?
She played so in season 5 of Mayans, Easy, his brother Angel says, like, he's in his like little trailer and he's just like, dude, you need a dog or something. He's like, yeah, maybe I do need a dog. And he, goes to the pound and Princess is the actress that we chose. And I love dogs in general, but I had a pitty, and my pitty was 15 and he had passed while I was filming Terminalist. His name was Arrow and I was shooting in Arrowhead.
No way.
Yeah, that weekend. And he had a crazy seizure at 15 years. And I was on the phone with the vet. My sister had found him on the floor, took him, and he was in bad shape and pain. I'm like crying with the vet, and I'm getting picked up by the van to go to set, and it was just such, like, I felt so guilty because I wasn't there for him, in that time. And then the showrunner for Mayans, Elgin, calls me up, and this was like, I'm shooting Hypnotic in Texas with Robert Rodriguez. And he's like, hey, I think in the story, we're going to have, like, Easy's going to have a dog. It's going to, and that, like, I was like, oh man, I get a chance to just like play with that emotion a little bit. So Princess, yeah, long story short, Princess was my girl.
That's interesting.
So you were on Sons of Anarchy, and then
no, I was never on Sons of Anarchy.
Okay,
I was just on
you did a little piece there.
No, Sons of Anarchy. I mean, there was crossover.
Yeah.
Emilio Rivera, who played El Padrino in Sons of Anarchy, he came on to lead Mayans, and we had a couple of others with this crossover. But yeah, we were literally a branch off of the Sons of Anarchy.
So
I watched all 5 seasons
of Mayans.
Yes.
Okay. What'd you think?
No good.
Yeah. That's so good.
I thought Angel was the best. No,
I appreciate that. I got to tell you, like, I don't, like, I loved it. I love the experience. And I don't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I get my close friends. I just don't get offended by things like that. Like, my close group, like, I've had them say, like, oh, the show's trash, or, whatever it is. And they're my boys,
Right.
When I did Twilight, just to show you how my boys are, Twilight at that time was massive, right? And I did the final Twilight, and it was like a thing. And then these boys that I grew up with in Panorama City, I've known them since I was 7 years old, and those are my hood boys. You know what I mean? Like, I call them for anything. And so one of them, he invited me over to his house for, like, his daughter's, like, birthday or something. So I show up and he's just like, dude, we haven't seen each other in years. We're giving each other a hug. He's like, congratulations. Thanks, man. He's like, congratulations for Twilight. I'm like, right on. And he's like, I'll still whoop that ass. All right. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
No, we watched Sons of Anarchy, and then we were yearning for another motorcycle show, and then you guys came on.
Yeah.
My wife and I watched it. It was great.
Oh, awesome, man. Appreciate
you
it.
got really nasty at the end, though.
I think there's two ways to look at that. Like, yeah, I could see people thinking that Easy got nasty, and I can also see people who are like put in a leadership position that don't have that choice,
Right?
Or the luxury to sit back and think about everybody else's feelings.
100%.
But we got to go. This is the path to success. You need that animal sometimes, and that's what I loved about it. At least
character change.
Yeah.
Kind of a rough way to go out, though.
God, yeah.
I mean, that was gnarly having your friends look in the
kidding me?
face
Like,
and just, boom, yeah.
And then Irby says this line. He says, like, you're not the only one that reads Shakespeare, motherfucker. And then he stabs me. I'm like, what a shitty thing to say.
I mean, when I saw that scene, I was like going, holy shit. Like, it was like,
dude, how do you think I felt?
I mean, like they're putting their arms around you and go, broop,
everybody's just
Jeez, you took it good though.
Thanks.
So
nice to know I could take a stabbing.
Yeah, you were nominated 4 times and you won an award.
Yeah,
and it was all for that show.
No, I didn't win. I didn't win anything for mine.
You had it. You got it.
I think you won. Wasn't there a Latino?
The Amahan Award.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
You were nominated 3 times, and
shows you how I like. Yeah.
You mean it's not on your shelf? Huh?
Yes, it is. I have it very, there for everyone to see. Yes, it's nice to be recognized. And I think that as an artist, I think is in anything, you want to be recognized for what you do. Right. And have success doing it. And so for me, that acknowledges that. But man, I don't need awards to.
You have kids.
You definitely don't need
awards. I know what I'm doing. I know when it's good. I know when it's bad.
You didn't need it, but people wanted to give it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's all love.
But that acting though, that whole scene and that acting, even playing a tough guy, hard guy, boss, all that stuff, that takes a good actor to do that, to pull that off.
Thanks,
unless you're just a mean dude.
No, yeah,
you can
tell.
He's like the nicest guy.
I for me, what I love about acting and getting to these characters, it's like you're basically creating a magic show for the audience, right? And you got to get them to buy in. You got to get them to believe what they're seeing. Because you all know, like everyone knows when you're watching a movie and there's bad acting and there's good acting, So I got to really buy into it. I have to believe it in order to portray it the right way and to be honest. Because you can tell when somebody's, not there.
Did you go through acting classes?
I did in the beginning. And, every now and then, if I get a part, I really want to break down. I work with a coach, and it's more of like getting an outside perspective and having these artistic conversations about what it is. And I know, and my coach helped me with mine. When I got it, he was like, my mindset went straight to the prison life. Because when I thought about Sons of Anarchy, which is a great show, legendary show, and I absolutely love that show and the cast, I looked at that and I was like, wow, it's such an entertaining show. I always found it interesting that these characters just kind of seamlessly went in prison and out of prison, in prison, out of prison, like it was nothing. Right. And this was the first time when we did Mayans, Kurt Sutter he didn't want actors to play like hard, motorcycle gang members. He wanted people who had a life, a criminal record, to act on the show and play characters. So it was like a reverse.
Right.
So for me, I felt like, and knowing that my character Easy had spent 10 years in prison, from high school, and then how he comes out, that's when you find him in Mayans. I thought to myself, man, it's the same thing with the military. You can't go into the Marines for 10 years and not come out walking different.
Right.
You know, so I immersed myself into that research of prison life. There's a great movie, if you like movies, with Dustin Hoffman called Straight Time. And it's in the 70s, so it's got that 70 feel to it. But he really dove into it's about Dustin Hoffman comes out of prison and he's on parole. And it goes through the process of being on parole and just relationships in life and him trying to get a job and all this stuff. And you can see these little things that kind of stick with him. And he even says, like, he has a friend who he asked to go do something with, and his friend shows up late. And it bothers him so much that when he sees him, he immediately just starts punching him. And it's because there's a code.
Right.
You know, all you have in prison is your word. Because on the outside, you know, you can show your status with the car you drive or with your clothes or your jewelry or whatever it is. You can even fake it. You can have all those nice things and be in massive debt.
Right.
You know, especially with social media and all that stuff. You can show people such a great side.
Right.
In prison, you can't lie. All you have is your truth and your word. So if you say, like, I would talk to guys who serve time, and they're like, man, like, if you come to me and we're homies and you want to bum a couple of cigarettes, I'm like, all right, hit me back Friday. Cool. All right. If you don't hit me up Friday, I have to do something about it.
Yeah, there's a problem.
And it has nothing to do with our friendship, but everybody else is going to think that I'm a punk.
Right.
And that they could just do this to me. So he has to do something about it. So I took on that sort of that psychology of just, you know, kind of having those eyes of just being aware and constantly listening and understanding the conversation that was happening
Right.
beneath the words. And I felt like Easy just came from that place. You know, I felt like he became an animal in prison. It wasn't fair. It wasn't, you know, any of those things, but it's just who he was.
That's interesting. You created that character that way. Talk a little bit about your crew, the actors, and seemed like you guys all got, you can't tell, but it seemed like just a great group of people, you know? Yeah,
you do. You really get, you become, it's and especially with something like Sons of Anarchy. Yeah. Any show, any, you know, you spend 5 years with people, you know, that becomes your family. And especially when you have bikes, you know, and that culture, and we're Mayans, and it's like Mayans against the Suns. And so a brotherhood develops, you know, and we were all so excited to be given an opportunity to sort of carry the baton of Sons of Anarchy and for the audience and move it forward. We just threw ourselves into each other. Yeah, which you have to do, because you have these relationships have to mean something and they have to be real.
Yeah, for sure. What about bike riding? Do you ride your bike now?
I don't ride as much now. But that's just because
tell us about the trailer. You didn't, when you were on the phone the other day, you're like,
I'm
not filming on a trailer.
Yeah. So
you didn't want to be that guy.
No, I didn't want to be that guy. So we it was funny because we were shooting, and it was the pilot. We were shooting alongside the border, and it is just like soft dirt, a stretch of soft dirt, and it's hilly, and there's a massive fence, and on the other side is Mexico. And so the Border Patrol was saying, like, when you go across, they're going to throw bottles at you.
Oh, shit.
They're going to throw all sorts of different things at you, you know? So I'm on set, I'm getting ready in the trailer, and I'm like, hey, so are they going to call me to film? Like, when are we filming? And they're like, oh, they're having Chad Guerrero, my stunt double. They're having him ride first to test it out. And I think that they're going to put your bike on a trailer and they're going to tow you. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, no, like, get me in the van. So I get in the van, and I go over there, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're just like, well, you know, like, Chad went down it, and, you know, he's like, it's kind of the soft dirt is throwing him around a little bit. And so we're thinking about pulling you, and just in case someone launches a bottle. And I was like, do you know what's going to happen if the fans find out that I didn't ride my bike and that I was being towed on a trailer? And I can't do that, man. The culture's real. Like, you can't. So he was just like, all right. They're like, all right, you sure? And the producers came in, and they're like, okay, we get it. And I didn't give him a choice, man. I had to do it. And so they took off the trailer, and then Chad was like, dude, just imagine like you're surfing. Just go with it. Wherever the bike goes, go with it. Don't try to correct it. Really,
soft dirt and sand
just
is not easy.
Flow.
Yeah.
And so I did. I think there was a part where you see me like, I'm like, how is I? And by the way, I had just gotten my license, so it was, you know, it was like a 3-week thing of learning how to ride. Really.
I got to go back and find that scene now and watch it.
You know,
It's funny. I was reading something about that, and I think someone tried to put training wheels on too.
Yeah.
Or was that the trailer?
Yeah, you know, they put training wheels on it, and you know, just make it stable. And I'm like, take that off, get it off the trailer. I'm riding it. If I go down, I go down. But no, I can't fake that. That's
No. Well, you said, I mean, you can tell when something's real and something's not. Like, you can see when bikes are on trailers and they're just like,
yeah, you know,
like,
and
wait a
you
minute,
just,
that bike doesn't do that.
And it's just, again, like I you know, I knew going into it that there's a culture within bike riding, and it's, you know, for me, especially when you're playing gangs and, you know, knowing that there's MCs out there, I wanted to be respectful. You know, I just felt like that was being respectful.
Right.
You know, so I wanted to dive into it and be as real as I could. And there were times where I thought I was going to die on that bike. So
did you ride a lot in the show?
Yeah.
Like every episode, were you on your bike?
There were some times where I had to bring in a stuntman, bring in my stuntman, Chad. He would test things out for me because I had to do it. At least I had to do a take or two with the camera so that it was my face, right? Sometimes you're doing these things like 10 times, 20 times. Right. And if it's not, the camera's not going to be on my face, then I'll throw my stuntman in there because I could go do something else and prepare for the next scene while he's doing that. And we were out in Palm, where were we? Like Lancaster. And I remember one season we were doing this, maybe it was season 3. And, you know, our call times are super early, especially if you're going to make a day. So, you know, you got to be there. I'm there like at 3:30 in the morning, whatever it is. So they call me to set, and it's like 5 in the morning. It's like 18 degrees with a wind chill. And so my Chad hops on the bike, and he takes it for a spin. And we're just supposed to ride and like with a drone. And then he comes back, and he's just like, dude, it's like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. You can't, it's dangerous. You know, like I locked up a couple of times, right? Because when you're riding that fast, it's like in the wind chill and everything, woof, it gets you.
Oh yeah, we know that feeling.
So yeah, you guys know. So, and I'm not like, that's, you know, I'm not used to that all the time, right? So I was like, I gotta try. Let me just try it. It'll be okay. So I go action, and I go, and man, I'm like squeezing the tank with my thighs. I'm trying to like soak in all that heat as I possibly can. And as I'm like, you know, flipping the clutch and going, it's like my foot is locking up and my hands are locking up. And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
and you're not wearing warm stuff. You're
dude,
just wearing,
no,
like,
I'm wearing my cut. And it's like, I go down, 90% of my body skin is probably off, you know? So yeah. And I come back and I'm like, yeah, I can't do it, dude. I gotta.
So you rode a lot, but you really didn't ride you weren't going to destinations. You were riding for the show.
We
for
were
the
riding.
shot.
We were riding for the show, and sometimes we get invited to Austin, and we get to go do like, we get invited to some events, where we ride and stuff.
That sounds pretty cool.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, riding on the show was a great. It was like riding classes for me, because you got to know how hard it is for you to be like 20 yards out going 30 miles an hour and stopping on a piece of pink tape.
Right.
My front tire has to go right there.
Right.
And there's cameras right there.
Right.
So if I go further than that, I'm destroying equipment and I'm hurting somebody.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was like stop and go, hit a mark. And that gave me, man, doing that for 5 years.
That's like technical learning, technical riding.
It was
handling
awesome.
the bike.
I could, I could stop on a dime.
Yeah.
And then I tried riding a couple of times, like on my lunch breaks on the show, and I'd go out with Nico and we'd ride around. And sometimes we'd ride around as a group, but man, riding in LA sucks.
Yeah. That's why we have 2LaneLIVE. We get out on the 2-lane. Get the hell out of here.
Dude, like, what is wrong with people? Like, then I really started noticing people on their phones.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And not paying attention, or like taking pictures of themselves while they're, like driving and like coming into my lane, and sometimes just have like knuckleheads just like come rub right up against you,
Right.
just because they think it's funny.
Yeah.
That's why you have to be on the offensive. We ride and to get out of everyone's way,
Yeah.
to get ahead of and be doing that kind of thing. But the locations were they were all LA,
Santa Clarita, LA,
yeah.
Mexico. Yeah.
So we always get asked, what our favorite ride is, or trip, or part of the country. Your 20 plus years of acting, is Easy your favorite character? Is there a favorite character in all of that time? Or do they all have some meaning to you in some way, shape, or form?
My favorite character is the next one.
I like that.
That's my favorite character. And all of the characters that I've played, they're all elements of you.
Right.
They're parts of you that you get to sort of like play out more for that specific moment. But yeah, man, my favorite character is the next one. And I say that's something my dad taught me. It just moves you forward. Acting is tough. And it's like, they're like brief love affairs. It's like you go in to play a character, you're in a new production with a new crew, a new cast, and you throw yourself and that becomes your family, and then it's over.
Right.
And then it's like,
are we picked up or not picked up?
Nobody cares,
Right.
and it's like, where you're like, whoa, like I just gave all
Right.
of myself to that, and now I have to like move on. And so it's just something that I say to help, that that's an awesome thing to just kind of like live by for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so,
but not to be cute and
Yeah.
answer your question. I loved the Terminal List. That was awesome. The good dudes there. Chris Pratt, awesome. Jack Carr series. They have a prequel coming out on Amazon pretty soon, but that's like, man, working with Navy SEALs. I got to work
Right.
with Navy SEALs. That's real.
Yeah.
Mayans is great. The bike culture with that. I got Roadhouse coming out, which is a remake of the Patrick Swayze Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal,
right?
Conor
Yeah.
McGregor, directed by Doug Liman, who directed the movie Swingers, another Amazon project, and that is like, that was fun.
So it sounds like there's going to be some fighting involved in that.
There always seems to be fighting, and yeah, I get down, I get my butt kicked, but it's okay.
So the feeling on like these other alternatives now, like the Amazons or the Hulus, or I mean, it's just another way to get content out and film, right? It's a
Well, I mean, listen, there's there's studios, and now every studio has their platform,
right.
And they all have content that you pay for as a subscriber,
Right.
So yeah, it's all part of it, and those are just platforms, and they each have their own projects, and it's basically, as an actor, you're going out on job interviews trying to land a project.
And if any one of your kids said, Dad, I want to be an actor, would you be like, let's go? Or would you be like, oh,
They say that to me now.
oh, okay.
Yeah. And good. I think, for me, it's whatever you're passionate about. I want my kids to just be passionate about what they want to do.
Yeah.
Regardless of money and status and what people think. Like, if you're passionate, because if you want to be good at something, you're going to encounter the hard.
Oh, you're definitely passionate.
You
could feel
you're going to face difficult times, and that's just life. But if you love it, you're going to learn from it and keep moving forward. And I would also I don't want my kids to even touch acting until they are, when they after high school, if they want to get into it, then sure. Go ahead.
Let them be kids.
Be a kid, live life. But that's also the best teacher, right? I didn't grow up in acting school. So for me, being involved in sport teams, dances, activities, events, friends, living life, relationships, all that stuff is just you soak it up, and it informs you, so that in your imagination. So then when if I have to play this person, then I get to tap into that emotion. It's okay, so there's this scene of me being on planet Mars, and I'm fighting a bunch of aliens. In this moment, how would he feel? Okay, how did I feel when I was in a foreign place, maybe, and I felt like a stranger? And what were those emotions like? Then you just substitute it.
What movie was this?
This is the movie. By the way, yeah, you're welcome, writers out there who wants to write that project. Give me a credit.
Well, you heard that? You ever hear that quote that Robin Williams said?
What's that?
Someone said to him, "I have no idea what I'm going to do tomorrow." And he looked at him and said, "Isn't that exciting?"
Yeah,
that's a cool. That reminded me of you saying,
"Yeah,
my next character."
Yeah, no, I love it, man.
But I mean, I think with our kids, right? We got to support the hell out of them, and at the same time, and maybe gotten away from this a little bit, but at the same time, it is that what you went through, what kids go through is that some of those hard times, and how you craft yourself and how you pull yourself up if you've fallen down, or how you face adversity.
Yeah.
And it shapes you as a human being.
It really does. And you're going to, like I said, that's life, man.
Right.
You're gonna encounter the hard. And hopefully you have someone in your life that can help mentor you and guide you through those hards. And if you happen to be somebody, like me, it was my mother and my two sisters, in those really hard moments, you have to figure it out yourself.
Right.
But yeah, it's that's a part of it, and it's all good.
Well, speaking of someone other in your life, we'd like to thank your wife, because you wouldn't be here if she didn't give you that.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna come, guys. She made me. She said I had to do this, so.
So after the Mayans, now are you producing? Are you putting shows? What? I kind of read something about that as well, and you were talking about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so and that's always really been the goal for me. I always wanted to have a production company and just make content. I'm a storyteller. I love movies. I love shows. Love the audience, entertainment, and so when Mayans ended, the studio gave me a 2-year first look deal as a producer. I sold him a show already, which is in development, and you know, hopefully those things take time.
Right.
But hopefully you'll see that on the TV screen. And that project led to a 2-year deal with them where they've asked me to create more content for them.
That's awesome.
So I, you know, read books, articles, my own imagination, what would make a good show, what am I passionate about, what's interesting, and then yeah, just kind of like building that and like a project manager and putting it together and bringing people along and who can help shape it.
Mhm.
So that's me on a producing side. And then acting, yeah, I stopped, and I learned this from Michael Irby, who played Bishop on Mayans, the guy who killed me at the end. That bastard.
But you look good though.
Thanks.
For being dead.
Thanks. I'll take it. You know, come resurrected. So I learned something from him, because it's like I used to think so much about what was next, almost to the point of being anxious about it. And especially in an industry where there's absolutely no guarantee
Right.
that you're going to get a job. You can go to acting school all you want. Doesn't guarantee you're going to get a job.
Right.
Doesn't even guarantee you're going to get an audition, you know? So, but he has an attitude of like, he's going to throw himself out there, and what comes,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And he believes also, like, you know, which I do in manifesting it. So it's like, just act that way, you know? So I try to live my life, you know, being creative every day and engaging with people in the business, and having those conversations and setting appointments, setting meetings, lunches, whatever it is. And you know, it'll come, man. What's meant.
That's the groundwork you put in.
Yeah. You know, because what you see on screen on Monday nights at 8 p.m., you know, you just see the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
It takes a lot to make a show.
Well, we do all of our own editing, so just Lance and Josh doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I mean, there's
But it's
so
true,
much
right? There's so much that goes into it. The
man.
production, the
Jeez.
timing,
and
the
we-
script, you know, the words, the people that you're involving, and then you got to pick a day and time,
Right.
and, you know, and it's a lot.
Well,
It's a
we've
lot of
been
stuff.
blessed to do some work with Harley, and some of those are larger shoots, and it's like there's no way we could do what we do that way. We can't, you know, a full day of filming, and it's like 2 minutes worth of, you know, film for the show. I mean,
Right.
because it takes a long time to build that 30 minutes or that hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does.
You were mentioning some of the stuff, but I think for us, it's, we kind of have this fate thing happening. It's like every corner we come around, there's something of more of a surprise that we didn't plan on.
Mhm.
And it's just built up over the years. Like even having you here, there's a fate thing, whether it's through Lauren, and
Mhm.
it's just these. And so to us, we feel like we're doing the right things because that fate.
Oh,
keeps
that's
happening,
awesome, man.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and
It creates connections. It creates,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I'm happy to be a part of that, man. That's it's an honor to be a part of that. And I think it's just like what you're saying. If you do the work, and it can't be like, people are seeing me do the work. Like if you truly love something and you are doing the work day
Right.
in and day out, I promise you're going to get a reward.
Absolutely.
Here's the trip. You and I do not define what that reward looks like.
Not
We
at all.
can't, right? But we will get one.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the beauty of it. And I think that when things like this happen, and you can see the growth, then you know you've been doing the right things, or you're on the right path.
Well, and we started our channel to really inspire people to get out and ride and see the country at a time when the country was closed.
Right.
Right. And so,
Oh,
that was
did you start
difficult.
that during
Yes.
the lockdown
Yes.
and all that
But
stuff?
we
2020.
coined it. We're shaking hands with America. And we've
Now I get it.
so we're out in the open
Yeah.
roads. We go into
Yeah.
small towns. We've
Yeah.
had grandmothers and daughters and their grandkids in restaurants, telling us about how their father started the restaurant and then the grandmother took it. So we do family legacy.
Yeah.
We have this whole thing and stories that we tell on towns along the two
We had an
lanes
81-year-old lady
Wow.
doing the splits and a headstand on
in her living room. In her living room, in
Yeah.
Page, Arizona. So it's
Oh,
like,
that is awesome. Okay. Okay.
we got a lot
yeah.
of plans for doing Route 66 again in the 66th year.
Yeah.
It'll be 100 years old in 26.
Yeah.
November.
I'll be 66. He was born in 66, so that's going to be a trip that we're going to take, and we're going to just meet people, share their stories,
Wow.
show our story of the journey.
Yep.
So we have all these things.
But my point was, so we were trying to get people to get out and just see the country.
Yeah.
And it was inspire people and some authenticity around it,
Yeah.
because they can see us out getting the miles down and they can see us in these small towns. But
Yeah.
it's the first year was insane and great, and we were growing, but it did a complete 180 on us. All of a sudden we get all these stories about people living again, buying their first motorcycle, cancer patients in hospitals watching our drops, and that's the only thing that's getting them through. And it just, this whole morph has taken place and it makes us want to do more stories and be
Yeah.
more, instrumental in people's health and
Yeah.
instrumental in people's awareness.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
cool, man.
Love
It's
it.
pretty
life.
crazy.
That's great.
We don't like to be called influencers.
Yeah.
We always say we're our own little production company that goes out and finds stories to share with people.
Yeah. That's what it is,
You know.
man. It's all about sharing.
But like
You
you say,
know.
you put in the work.
Yeah.
If you're passionate about it, you love what you do, and you create stuff, people will see it. And
Yeah.
then they'll want, if it's
Yeah.
good, they'll want to
And
be
it,
involved.
and it may take time. It may take time. Like, dude, I mean, 20 years as an actor, and this is my first lead,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I was doing an interview and I was asked this question. I remember, somebody had asked me, I forgot who had asked me about it, but they're like, man, when you see those billboards, those Mayan billboards, like, how does that make you feel? And I said, you know what? It makes me feel, I think of two things. The first is like, you're fucking right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Right.
That's me. You know why? Because this is why I did it. This is why 20 years ago, this is why I worked so hard, because I believed I could do that. I believed I wanted that, I wanted a place. And I felt like I could get there. I believed it 100%. And then the second thought is like, oh shit, I did it. Like, wow, like I can't believe. But 20 years of a journey, man. I've been all over that call sheet. I've been like number 120 cast member, from having one line to, the lead of a successful series.
So you were in Wild Hogs. You were one of the what do they call them? The stand-ins or
No,
Just
no,
kidding.
I never did that.
Just
Nothing
kidding.
against that, by the way. It's just, that's a whole different. And sometimes there's different ways to get your SAG card, and in order to do SAG projects, you have to be in the union,
Yeah.
or else they could get penalized,
Right.
and all that stuff, right? So you either put in your hours, and then you make yourself eligible. Or somebody has to pay the fines for you to become a part of the union. And luckily for me, I had a studio do that.
Well, I kind of want to go back.
Liked you.
I kind of want to go back to that point you just made, and because all different walks of life watch and listen to this,
Mhm.
right? 20 years of acting, and the last 5 years lead role. So it took hard work, pain, and effort to get through those first 15 before you got the lead role,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, so those aspiring actors and actresses out there, I mean, here's proof of someone that's put in the work, done the hard work, and it paid off for you at the end of the day.
It really did. And I put in the work. I put in a lot of work. I sacrificed a lot of, relationships and friendships. And because in a way, when you have that drive, you're putting yourself first.
Right.
You're not going out to things. You're not being a part of things, because like for me, I wanted to study scripts. I wanted to study movies. I wanted to watch directors, my real directors, like great directors. I wanted to watch the classics. And so he did that. But also I do have to say, because I don't want to fool anybody, man. I thank God every day that I'm here doing it, because there was no I can't explain to you why
Nothing
it
was
happened.
handed to you.
But I don't know how, like, there's no rhyme or reason, you know? And so that's what's, especially in my industry, that's what's unfair. And it's really important for the young actors or struggling actors or the people that want to get into business, that they understand that this isn't about being fair. You know, if you're doing it and you're pursuing it, then pursue it because you love it. And there's, you know, get involved in theater, get involved in short films, like do all that stuff and audition, you know, like really work it. But you can spend years in acting school. You can do all that work and still not like be seen on TV. I feel for you. You know, I don't know what else to say. That's why I feel like I've done the work, but you got to have luck, and I've gotten lucky.
And yeah, I mean, when you were a young man, you were in AP classes.
Yeah.
So you were into learning and studying.
Yeah.
Even back then, when you could have just been a guy out on the street skateboarding, having a good time.
I mean,
I know you did that.
My dad would have what my like it was like, you know, remember that time, like streetlights come on, you come home.
You better be home.
You better be home, you know. And a lot of times too, I'd get so mad, like my dad wouldn't allow me to go somewhere with certain people or whatever it was. And, you know, when I hear about like what had happened or things like that, it's like, oof, you know, it's, but yeah, no, I wasn't allowed to really wander too far.
It's good stuff. Good stuff for sure.
What are you most proud of? Is it your kids?
Dude, that's a question.
A little loaded.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
What am I most proud of? I'm proud of a lot of things. I'm proud that I'm proud to have children, a boy and a girl, and that's a blessing, you know, a family, you know, to be in this business, to be working in this business, to have health insurance, to, you know, like I'm proud of a lot of things, man. And I think that, I'm proud of if I'm looking at myself and if there's something about myself that I want to be proud about, it's that I've always found, you know, a time to like pray and to thank God and to like meditate on those things, you know. It's like, and I know that might sound funny, but it's like, that's been the charge. That's been like my power, I want to say.
I don't think it sounds funny.
Like an iPhone, you got to charge it or else it goes dead. And you can really burn out in this life, man. You can burn, a lot of things can really mess you up. And I just thank God that I've always been close to him. It's always just been in my heart. And that's something that my mom really put in me, you know, as a kid. Like she's like, always put God first, always put God first. I'm like, Mom, you know, but I gotta tell you, because the ego and things happen and you're a young man and then you're getting money and then there's girls and then there's this and there's that. It's like, you can go a variety of different directions and you can be destructive. We can be destructive. And it's always kept me at least on the course, you know?
Well, it sounds like to me you're grateful.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything funny about it. I think you're grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful. Very grateful.
Yeah.
So when you are out in everyday life, Home Depot, restaurant, with your wife, with your kids, is it a constant recognition, or is it a few far in between? How is that?
You know, when the show's like airing, it can be, you know, it's a lot. Yeah.
And then they call you Easy, right?
Yeah, like Easy, or like they'll say, "Hey, prospect." I'll be like, "Fuck you, I'm president, bro." You know? Say something back to them, or yeah, no, it's I like to take my kids to Disneyland. I mean, who doesn't, you know? And so it's a lot there, and especially different parts of LA. But I think it's also too because I'm born and raised in LA, you know, and so it's like, I don't know, like maybe I can't speak for anybody, but maybe it's like, oh, like he did it, I can do it, or it's something that belongs to them in a way, you know, and I'm happy to be a part of that. But yeah, you know, you never know. I mean, I've gone. Just the other day, I went to dinner in Santa Monica. It was like last week. It's like night, and I literally parked for valet. I get out, and a FedEx car comes over, and he just stops. He's like, "Dude, easy, hey, bro, I just watched you." I'm like, "Oh, hey." I was like, "All right, man, cool, thanks," and he just took off. And it was just like, wow, like, how'd you see me? Like, I had a hat on and everything.
If that didn't happen, it might be a little bit of a bummer. Like if no one ever did that. If it happened too much, it's a pain.
You know, it's never really been a pain for me. I mean, look, I don't, but I don't go out trying to draw unnecessary attention to myself. You know what I mean? I think there's people who really put themselves in that, trying to live that celebrity life or kind of get that. Hey, man, to each your own. But it's never been a burden for me, even if it's gotten really crazy, because I feel like I'm able to do my job weekly because people are watching.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're watching, like, that's
part of the job.
They're the reason,
right?
You know, so who am I?
Right.
Like, they come up to me, ask for a photo. Man, I'm going to give you that photo.
Right.
You know, they want to chit chat.
Don't tell everyone.
Hey, we're going to chit chat. You know, now
that's cool.
Things happen where, you know, I'm like, I remember one time I'm at Disneyland, and my son was like, we're in line, and he's like, "Daddy, I got to go pee." And I'm like, like, I just asked you if you had to go pee when we were walking over here. Now you're telling me you got to go pee. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Like, I'll be right back." And I grab him. I'm running down, trying to find a bathroom. And then like some dude like stopped me. "Hey, bro, love the show, man. Can I take a photo?" And I'm like, I can't do it right now. I got to take him, you know? And he's like, "Come on, bro, that sucks. Like, why can't you do a photo, dude? Don't be like that." I'm like, "Bro, he's about to pee his pants." And you just run. So sometimes it kind of gets like a little like, listen, trust me, if you come up to me and you want to talk or you want a photo, I am absolutely down for that. And I'll give that to you. If there's a reason why I can't do it, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
Right.
There's a reason. My kid's going to pee his pants.
Because trust me, I feel like I owe it to people to give them that.
Well, they watched your show for 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we feel too. It's like,
yeah.
And it's new for us. I mean, over the last 4 years, if we're at motorcycle events, it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's photos, it's autographs, and we're like, what the hell is
people
happening here?
that we can't even speak to, people that are clubs or from Brazil, Mexico, and they're like at the Harley 120 at the homecoming.
Yeah.
There was like groups of 20 guys and women that were in there, and they all had their cuts, but they were just a nice riding club out there. They run up and they're just like, pictures.
Yeah.
We can't even talk to them, but we're like, let's do it. You know?
I mean, I'm having like sometimes, like I remember one time I'm in Vegas, I'm with my friends, and we go to this bar, and like somehow this club found out that we were headed over there, that I was going to be there. And they all show up, man. Like the whole crew, and they're old ladies. They all show up, and I'm there with my friends. I'm having a drink, and dude walks up to me, and he was just like, "Hey, the president of our MC wants to see you."
Really?
And I was like,
"Did you have your gavel?"
Like,
with
"Yeah,
you?
Dude, I'm coming right now." You know, and I take my shot, and like my bro's like, "You're gonna go?" I'm like, I can't say no.
You know the rules, right?
I know the rules. Bro.
Did you have your gavel with you?
So I was a prospect during that time, and so I go, and he's just like, "Hey, bro, really feel like you're representing us." I was like, "All right, thank you, man. Much respect." He's like, "You mind if we take a photo?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's take a photo." Cool. So we all gather around, and old lady's about to take a photo, and then they just all pull out their guns and they're just like flexing it and showing it, and I'm just like, all right, this is cool.
That's
Thanks,
funny.
guys. All right, and they're like, hey, you ever in here? We got your back. Awesome. It's
Thank
nice
you.
to know. Appreciate it.
Hey, stuff that happens in life, right?
Hey, you know, it's one of the perks.
Right.
It's the perks of this business.
Interesting.
So if you look to the right, there's been comments all, and Josh has been putting a bunch of stuff up on the screen.
Oh, cool.
So it's
Do we have any questions? Does
So,
someone want to give us a question?
I think the main question, and you already answered part of that, right? About you weren't riding before the show.
Yeah.
Kind of got you into it. Do you currently ride? Do you currently have a bike? I know you had that bike built. You might have wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and I love to read off. I got some list of the sponsors. Let me.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, do
This
that.
is a good moment to do that. So I do have a bike. I just built it with Nico. Let me do this right here. So yeah, what I did was in our last season, Nico and I just came out with this idea where I wanted to build a mirror image of my bike on the show, but I wanted to do like a limited edition, like a 1 of 1, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're opening up a pack of cards and you get that gold card,
Right.
you're like, oh yeah, I got. So I wanted to. So I have a 2014 Softail Deluxe, and I just, it's got like this custom paint job, all like, this Mayan paint job, and it's even got like Easy's picture on the back, and the handlebars all engraved with like this Mayan detailing. The exhaust is engraved.
There it is.
I'll get it.
Yeah, so it's Nico did incredible, man. That guy's like, and so yeah, let me read out, just because we had a lot of people come out and were a part of this build. So Nico Cope, he's the guy that built my bike. The custom paint job was done by Malo at JRS Customs, Factory 47. Engine guard and 18-inch handlebars by Freedom Performance Exhaust. True dual fishtails. Oh, sorry, I'm kind of like, yeah, Freedom Performance Exhaust. Yeah, so Factory 47 did the engine guard and the 18-inch handlebars. Bad Dad Customs, front and rear fenders with floorboards, custom engraving on the handlebars and exhaust by Dago Dane. Custom gold twisted spoke wheels by Black Bike Wheels. Custom seat made by Ballin Customs. And yeah, man, special shout out to Malo at JRS Customs and Factory 47, Freedom Performance.
Now that's your image right
Look at
there.
that fender.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think this is going to it's been going to a couple of shows. It's going to go to one in Ontario. I think we're trying to make that happen for Fishtail Magazine. We'll see. And yeah, I'm just going to enjoy it for a little bit. And then the goal, I think, would be to auction it off, and using a part of that to, what I'd like to do is go back to Panorama City where I grew up and do something with the kids there, like the youth, like if they're interested in the business, and maybe, I don't know, doing like a seminar or something. And then like after we use some of that money to make a short film, just so that they can get the experience and taste of what it's like to shoot something.
Well, I think as you have tasted that success, right? And if you can use that show and that bike, there's no greater cause than helping the youth, especially inner city.
Yeah.
Because they don't get the love. They may not even be eating every day. They may not be getting the financial literacy. They may not understand. And if you want us to help with any of that, in terms of be part of that would love, because we love to give back to communities. We actually, there's a guy, 1903 Harley Drew, and he's got a Screaming Eagle Foundation where he does exactly that. He buses kids to the Harley Davidson dealership. Then he separates them, and they run them through all the different departments, whether it's sales, whether it's finance, whether mechanic, and he's trying to get the kids to understand there's a way out.
And he's probably about the same age.
We
Harley
could
Drew.
connect the two of you.
So Harley Drew's grandfather raised him in Watts, downtown LA. And he was one of the first African-American MCs in Los Angeles. And they all had like these button shirts and these great pants, and they rode around, you know.
Yeah.
So he was raised into the whole motorcycle world.
Oh, wow.
But now he's giving back to the kids in the inner city.
With our grand opening, we raised $3,000 for raffle tickets and gave it to him.
Yeah.
We'll pay for an event for him
That's
to take
incredible.
these kids, give them good grab bags, give them lunch.
So we'd love to help if you ever.
Oh,
do
no,
that.
I appreciate that, man. And absolutely. I'm going to take you guys up on that. You know, I think that one thing I realized is that like people, we have different personalities, right? And some people are like really aggressive and go-getters, and some aren't. And
right.
That doesn't mean that they're bad, and it's not a judgment on them. It's just how their motor runs.
Right.
And sometimes I think the ones that really are like go-getters, you have to take on that responsibility of reaching your hand back, because sometimes they just need to see it.
They just need to
see it. You know, they got to be able to touch it. They got to be able to talk to it, communicate with it. And, you know, for me, especially during that time, like I said, acting, the dream of acting saved my life. It gave me fuel. And, so yeah, you don't know what's going to inspire people.
But you know, every time we have someone on that has a cause or something about them, it's if you can just help one. Right.
Oh, yeah.
If you just get one of them to do it. And that's the most meaningful thing you can do. But what if it's 100 of them?
Yeah.
Right. You don't know about the other 99. You just know you got one, but maybe there's 100 that have listened to the story and they're like, I'm doing what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's how this fate thing works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And I do believe that, you know, it's a responsibility. So, yeah, I'll be getting into that. I'll let you guys know about that. But yeah, man, that's the bike. It's Nico.
I don't know. When I see that bike, I don't know how you rode that through soft dirt and sand, because that's, especially with the bar, you know, you're
so
up.
Yeah. So funny enough, I'm
there
like,
it is. There she is right there.
Yeah. You know, okay. So by the way, when I booked this show, no riding experience whatsoever. So then they send me to Harley school. Okay. I shoot the pilot with a permit. And I'm learning on the job. But then they show me what you know, you're learning on like these little things. And so then when I get to set, they're like, by the way, this is your bike. And I'm the one with the 22-inch ape hangers. Right. You know, and I'm like, okay, all right. Well, like people are like, how are you going to do it? Like, yeah, I have to. So it's not even a matter of like how, I have to.
I mean, that's harder when the bars are higher.
Oh my God. You know, and it's just, yeah, I mean,
we throw you on one of these baggers with T-bars, you're going to be like, yeah, this is great.
I got to tell you, that stuff messes me up. You know, if the handlebars aren't like 20 and up, like I have problems. Like, I don't know how you ride it. I need to use my body, you know, and especially like with turning, you learn how to turn, you learn how to park. And a lot of it's like, you know, with your core and like walking it down or whatever. And yeah, but yeah, I'm the newbie who got 22-inch ape hangers.
So did the Harley class help you? I mean, was that like a good thing to do or not?
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that that's how easy it is. That you know, it was a Harley out in Glendale, and it was a weekend course, Saturday, Sunday. So Saturday you go into the class and you do half of the day you do like, you know, DMV type stuff with them. Like, this is what the book says, this is what the law says, this is how you turn, this is blah, 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 all that stuff. Learn about the bike. And then you have your lunch. And then the second half of the day, you go into the parking lot and you work on that. And you have CHP working with you because they're running you through the test, showing you what it is, talking you through it. And then you go back on Sunday and you do it. Same thing, half the class. And then at the end of the class, you take a test. If you pass that test, now you go out into the parking lot and then you take, for 1 hour, you can work with CHP. And then after that hour, you take the test and they can't talk to you. They're just grading you now. And so, yeah, in a weekend, got my permit, So all that meant was I didn't have to take the writing test at the DMV.
Right.
So then I go to the DMV
Do
and
the
I
written.
have to take the written test. By the way, I did not know this, that because I didn't have a motorcycle's license and I had to take the written test for my motorcycle license, I had to take my driver license test all over
Oh,
again.
no
I
way.
think I had to do
Why?
the same thing.
Did you?
It was a timing thing because I didn't renew my license, and the driver's one, there's so much weird stuff. Oh, 300 yards. And I think I might've failed that
Dude,
one, but
I
they let
did
you
fail
retake it. Yeah.
So I go there like thinking I'm going to ace this motorcycle test, and I aced that one. But the one that I didn't ace was like,
The driving.
this,
test.
and it was funny because I must have, I don't know what I said, but like when I found that out and I go up and they're like, okay, so you have your motorcycle test right there, and then you have to go take the driving test right there. I'm like, take the driving test. And then I had to pay like $180 or $200 or whatever to do that test. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, wow, you guys are so much about money.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That like
Total
this is just like
scam.
I've been driving for how long, and you guys are gonna make me take. He's like, you gotta take it. And I was like, all right, so I go pass the motorcycle test, and I failed the driving test. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, in 15 minutes you can go back. I was like, all right, I'll be right back. And then like I'm looking through the book and I'm looking at those questions again. And anyway, finally get it. And then yeah, jumped on set day one, have my license, and I'm riding.
And now you got to ride and perform at the same time. And there's people
Yeah,
in cameras.
And I gotta tell you, yeah, like well, I shouldn't say try shooting a gun, but like
Yeah.
try shooting a gun and riding,
You
like
had to
it's
do
not
that
easy.
too.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't try that at home.
No, don't, disclaimer.
But we've
please
done
don't,
some
but-
work with Harley, like I said earlier, and they've closed PCH off, and they've got the Porsche with the big boom on it,
Yeah.
and we're flying down PCH, and all of a sudden, here comes a camera right in front of your face.
Oh yeah. So
And it's,
you
like,
have
tight.
to like, yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what it's like to be going 40, 45 miles an hour with a camera right in your face. And there's a port, like they called it the Russian arm. I think there's a different name for it now.
But the
for,
big
like,
boom.
political
The
or
crane.
whatever.
Yeah.
But basically like a crane on a Porsche is like it's going in front of you. It's like something happens to that car.
Right.
You're in trouble.
I'm right into that windshield. I'm like I'm next thing you know, I'm in the passenger seat.
Right.
Right. And I can't see anything. And a lot of that, when you're doing these scenes, a lot of it, you're riding blind.
Yeah.
You have cameras here on the side of you. You have a camera here in front of you, and you're just going. And like I always say a prayer before they say action, because I don't know, like something can happen.
You're just trusting.
And you just got to trust that this camera. And then I have to act,
Right.
or I have to pull out my gun, and I have to look back and fire back, and there was one time during the pilot where we're following a van that has all the drugs in it, and there's a car. The crane is moving along this van, and it's like this, right? It's a little staggered, and the crane, in order to push the camera, had to come forward while the van was doing this. So that window of that where you can fit through is shrinking.
Right.
And I'm the prospect. So I'm the last person that's going to go through this. Right. And so they're like, everyone's just got to rip it. And I'm just like, oh my God, like this was my first day filming. I'm on these 22-inch ape hangers. We're going 40 miles per hour, and I have to go through it. And, say a prayer, they say action, and we go. And like in my head, I'm like, go, hurry up, guys, hurry up, guys, hurry, guys. And I'm seeing that window closer and closer, and I just close my eyes and just crank it right through it. Like,
so you know what lane splitting would be like in LA now.
oh my God. Oh my God. Dude, isn't that a trip when I see people like on social media on bikes doing like all this crazy stuff while they're lane splitting? And I'm like, how do you do that? That's like a death wish.
Well, we have a really good friend, a bunch of good friends, but one is Jeff Seabear, and he's drifting in and out of traffic
On a bike.
just on a bagger.
Like,
listen, man,
roll and
like
burn out.
respect. Okay.
Yeah.
Respect. But my mind goes to like somebody can just like drop a phone and be like, oh,
Oh,
and
of
stop
course.
their car. Like,
We're his fathers in a way, so we tell him stop that shit.
Yeah, like
No.
oh man, that just gives me like hey, respect, man. I wish
You know
wish
what
I
can
could always
happen.
like that.
That's
Well, we don't have all the metal around us, so it's like
no, for sure.
you're just fully exposed.
Oh yeah, and I've dropped the bike twice. My first day, but we were out in Lancaster, and when they said action, we went and they had the camera in the middle of the road, and myself and the guy that plays my brother, we're going down it. We're in, the camera's like right in the middle, so we just go right by it, and I rip it on the first take, and I'm like, oh, this is so easy. It's amazing, right? I'm just like killing it. Fourth gear, just rink, I'm flying. And the stunt coordinator was always yelling at me like he'd be like, stay out of the shit. Cause like in Lancaster, you have all these little pebbles
Right.
on the side. And so we go back to one and I do it again, and I rip it and go right through. And I go to turn and my wheel caught like the lip of these pebbles. And it just went like, boom. And I felt like air underneath my, and thank God, like my instinct was I just shut off the engine, just shut it off and like just went the other way. And I went into the dirt. It was more embarrassing than anything. I had this, I like,
And you have small helmet.
I get up, I see the stunt coordinator running, everybody, and I'm thinking like they're gonna be like, hey, and he's just like, I told you to stay out of the shit. And I'm like, oh my God. So I go right back to one. I take the bike because he's still got to film. And now I'm shaking a little bit. And I'm like, oh, this is a beast. And I got to respect the beast a little bit more. So I get back to one. And as I'm turning it, like I'm shell shocked and I'm trying to make a turn and make sure I don't drop it again. And nobody was there. I was by myself. The camera was like low on this road. So I had to go up this hill. So I go up to the hill to one and I have a walkie in my cut. And I can hear them say, like, are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, turning. So like, okay, tell us when you're ready to go. I'm like, okay. And I start turning and I miss it up. I get into the dirt a little bit and the bike drops again. But now they're all over there. And I don't want to get on the mic and say, like, hey, guys, I dropped the bike again. So I'm like, what do I do? So I go into the dirt and I'm like, and I just push that bike up and I stand it up and I move it back on. And I'm like, okay, yeah, ready to go. And then they go action and I go right down and then I'm like, cool. And I pull up to them like nothing happened. And like, we got to go again. And I'm like, why? And like, cause did you drop the bike? I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't drop the bike. They're like, well, why are the lights all flashing? Like, I guess when you drop it, right? Like it, like the lights go off.
They caught that on camera.
Like, oh, that's weird. Nico, maybe something wrong with the wires here.
That is funny.
But yeah, man, you drop it. I dropped it. And luckily,
no dents, no damage.
No,
that's
no.
Just a slow drop.
Yeah. Just like, put the baby to bed.
Right.
So speaking of stuff that happens behind the scenes, we had a question here from Eric F. Hey guys, easy. Can you give us one example of something behind the scenes that fans never got to see, but was always happening? Was there ever a prankster during shooting? Yada, yada.
What can I say? It's tough, it is tough because
yes.
I'm a locker. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for the question. No, it's, I'll cause I believe in the locker room, you know what I mean? So, I don't, I don't talk too much about the behind the scenes type stuff, like we keep stuff in house, but some of there were times where we just had so much fun. And it's like, especially, and maybe this is good to talk about, like in this last season, it got serious. It got really emotional, real serious, and also as actors, like we knew it was the end of the road. And there's a lot of like what ifs and what happens. And it's, you're never going to see each other again, maybe. And so Michael Irby plays Bishop. He's just, that guy is so spontaneous. He's so just inventive and loud and like we would sit at the table in the Templo, like right before we're about to roll and like someone's supposed to be crying or whatever. And he would just he would just like start talking shit to Clay, the guy that plays my brother, to somebody else. And like there are a couple actors who are real sensitive, you know, like you can't like it hurts them, you know, and he would say things and like it would turn like almost into this verbal fight where we're literally someone's about to get into a fight, and then they say in action, and then we're like, so what happened? I don't know. Okay. And then you like just kind of get into it, and then they say cut, and it's like, fuck you. What the fuck are you saying? We had a lot. We had a lot of fun. I mean, we're boys, you know, so we rip on each other. We would say things to each other, and we were always terrified of getting like called in by HR or something like that from like people walking by and you know, hearing some of the things, but
the real life stuff.
But we're wolves, man. They're a pack of wolves. What do you expect?
Right.
You know,
exactly.
And then last comment or question for now. Sounds like Malo's tuning in. He worked on your bike.
Hey, Malo. Yeah, dude. Pleasure, bro. Talking to Nico. Definitely we're gonna come out and see you. So I didn't forget, brother.
Right on.
See, we help men families here.
All right, fine. One more.
We didn't forget.
CCR Lowrider S. What scene or take did you like the most on Mayans?
That's that question.
That's a lot of takes.
Yeah, there's a lot of you know, there was okay, here's one. It was in season 3, and I wish that I'm gonna try my best to describe it. I wish that you could have seen it in person, because it really is remarkable. So my character is driving with Gabby, and there's this moment where there's a hit on Easy's life, right? So he's driving in the truck. We had a camera on there was a camera guy like shooting behind us through, like sitting on the bed of the truck, shooting this way. So he's got this side on what's out, right? And they fixed this rack on the truck so that they could change the perspective when the scene was over. So they say action. I'm driving with Gabby, cameras behind us. I have to, and the audience didn't know this, but my stunt man, we had an actor laying down on the curb in Santa Paula, right there. And he was hidden so that the audience couldn't see him, but he had to be there because he was going to come out from nowhere and try to kill me.
Right here.
Right. So, no. It's,
He's in a truck.
like there's a hit on my life. I'm in a truck with Gabby. It's season 3.
I was just gonna hit him with a link, but no worries.
Yeah. Anyway, so they say action. We're driving, and I have to hit this invisible mark, and I hit it, and I can't go over it because I'm gonna hit this dude. I'm gonna hit this actor, the stuntman. So I have to just kind of remember the mark by like the trees. And so I park the truck, I get out, and I go get like some like bread or something like that, or churro. I don't know what, I forgot what I was getting. And so I go out to get it, and I pay for it. And you're still seeing the perspective behind Gabby through the windshield, see me walk over. I grab the food. I start coming back. And as I'm coming back, someone pops up and puts a gun to Easy's head and is about to kill him. And Gabby says, Easy. And I have to turn around, hit the gun. We get into a squabble. I headbutt him. I put him on the ground. And so now through the camera, you've just seen us fall out of frame. And she's like screaming. And then you hear a gun go pop, pop. And it's like, who got shot? Next thing you know, I stand up and I jump into the truck. And then now I have to turn. So now the camera's seeing my face as I turn. And I just have to go in reverse. I have to hit a mark. This is all one take. I have to hit a mark. I hit that mark and I turn. And then the dude is standing in the middle of the road with the gun about to shoot me. And a truck comes and hits him out. So then now I start going. and I wrap around the corner and I go into an alley. When I get into the alley, the cameraman has to throw the camera and it has to swing on the rail. And another camera guy has to run from the bushes to grab the camera to show now a side view through the door. Like, this took a year to set up.
Wow.
It was a conversation about how cool would this be. And we did it in 3 takes.
I remember
That's
that scene.
wild.
And it did a lot because I couldn't believe we did that. I couldn't believe that we did that in 3 takes. And I also couldn't believe that I did that. You know, like I felt like Tom Cruise in a way, you know, like, wow, I hit the mark on these things. I did the stunt, I created the drama. And it was one of those where I kind of like sat back after and was just like, man, I did that.
Proud day.
That was cool. Yeah.
Did you have to do it again, or was it a one and done?
3
We
takes.
did 3 takes, but I mean, to get that in 3 takes with all those stops and those marks and all
it's
that
crazy.
acting and that action, like it's a lot, man. So yeah, that was probably one of my favorites. I've had many.
It's funny, you know, Riley, my son's buddy growing up, but he did a lot of stunts on Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's a young guy, but
Yeah.
he did a lot of blowing up into barn roofs and bikes crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this big old massive fight scene in a parking lot in LA. I think was it Pacoima? It was somewhere, but it was I think it was the season with Steve, the prospect that kills himself, and we're at a hotel and we're meeting another branch of the Mayans and another chapter of the Mayans. We didn't know that they were setting us up. And so it just turns out like into an all-out brawl, and which I love. I mean, I've been fight training and I love fighting. I love all that stuff. You know, I've been doing that since I was a kid. And so now I get to use it and act it out and, you know, especially in these moments in these shows. And so it was just like, I come running out into the parking lot and there's a president from the other chapter. And he's basically like, yeah, come on, bitch. And then everyone just starts running towards me. I start running to them. We just start throwing punches. And one of the stuntmen that I was fighting, I grabbed him and I threw him too hard and I double legged this other dude. And a dude we always have a rule, man. Like in that kind of stuff, you got to like go with it. If you get hit, and I've been hit, like go with it. Don't call cut. Like let's get it down.
Right.
We're gonna have to do it again anyway.
Right,
So at
right.
least, like maybe it's a one and done. You know. And one of the dudes had this big old lump on his head and had to go to the hospital. And I hit the concrete on one of it, and my elbow was just all lit up and thought I broke my arm. That was fun too, though. You know, it's just like it's what you imagine when you're a boy.
Right.
Cowboys and Indians.
Right.
We're getting
Throw it
down,
down.
dude. Let's get down. With some punches.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, believe it or not, we've been running an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. See, this is
Isn't that crazy?
when you have good conversation. It's all
Right,
good.
right. Wow.
Yeah.
It's definitely been fun. Definitely been educational. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's we truly want to thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know, you know, it's a random phone call comes in and it's like, who are these guys? And
all good, man. Honestly, really my pleasure.
Yeah.
Like I told you guys on the phone, man, like I have so much respect for the culture.
Yep.
People out there that ride. You know, I felt like this was an opportunity to be a part of you guys, a part of that culture, you know.
That's awesome.
And it's a culture that welcomed me.
Yeah.
With open arms. So
you're in it now.
like I love all you guys, man, out there listening and riding. Please be safe. You ever see me, man, please come up, you know, forever, somewhere, man. Let's grab a drink together,
Well,
whatever. Like it's all
unfortunately, you're now part of our family.
there you go. All good.
You
2LaneLIVE.
just got a couple
Hey,
more family
It takes a
members.
village.
Yeah,
my friend.
right. I
So
know.
it's all good. I believe there's power in the masses. So you
Well,
know.
and great stories. And I think, you know, if we take things away from it, you know, your dedication to the craft and you fought through and you made something of it. And So if those people that are out there that are struggling, trying to get through that, you know, there's an inspirational thing there. So look at you and what you've done.
Well, you had
Oh, man, I
passion, you
appreciate
had
that.
energy, you had the fire. When you were young, you moved, you made things happen. You have a family of your own now. I mean, that's really respectable. You know, the family, you got raising kids.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And yeah, dude, blessings to everybody out there. You know, if you watch the show, thank you for tuning in and supporting us and giving me a job. And I would just say, like, if you're going through something hard, embrace the hard, you know, like it's a blessing. You may not believe it, but it is a blessing. So if you're in the fire, then let it do its work and keep fighting. And if you find time, you know, humble yourself and just put yourself before God, you know, never forget that. And you'll be amazed at the miracles that come your way.
Well, you certainly resemble that, the humbleness and the gratefulness it comes across, and it's very authentic. So,
Thanks, man.
We appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in and for your questions. And dude, if you see me writing, I mean, well, you got a bunch of writers on the show anyway, so they're not going to do anything crazy. But dude, people, get off your phones. You know, when you drive,
right?
like, watch out for the writers.
Come on.
Be respectful, because that's
maybe one
crazy.
day we'll do a little local SoCal run with you.
Yeah, I'm in it. I'm absolutely in it. I love to.
Come on now.
To. Let's go.
Right on. So for everyone watching, don't forget to check out 2LaneLIVE.com. We got blogs, packing guides, every V-twin part you can imagine, and some videos.
With that, we'll
Good
see
ones.
you.
Go
down
watch
the
our
road.
video.
See you down the road.
See you down the road.
See you guys.